Hey everyone, what's up? I'm back from my semi-vacation and I wanted to make a video on a subject that was unfolding in real time involving a content creator I'd watch semi-regularly. That content creator is Dillin Thomas. A lot of videos have been releasing about the guy over the past month or so, and it's just really rare for me to watch a content creator go through a downward spiral in real time like this. Usually I'm late to the party, and it's already happened. Let's get into it. Strap yourselves in, get your snacks, get you a comfy chair, whatever you need, because this is gonna be long as shit. Dillin Thomas was known for covering Sonic the Hedgehog related topics. He used to do a lot of theory videos and talk about what he liked and didn't like about certain aspects of the franchise and things like that. What got him the most attention was covering people like Chris Chan, you know, before he became a literal motherfucker. I'm pretty sure this is how I ended up finding his channel initially, because of his Chris Chan coverage. A lot of these videos consisted of him just sitting down and reading an article on the Quickie, which if you don't know, is a wiki site dedicated to Chris Chan, all the batshit crazy shit that he used to do. He'd read a lot of these articles and give his 2 cents on them, and usually have like a background of looping of Chris Chan doing something silly with a color filter over it and other relevant images behind it. If he wasn't doing that, then he was doing this other series, which I thought was a bit more interesting, which he called the Sonic Insanity series. In this series, he covered a lot of weird, disturbing, and hilarious individuals that make up the Sonic fandom. And I gotta say, this was actually kind of a neat idea. I mean, channels that cover lolcows are a dime a dozen, honestly, just like most genres on YouTube. There's a lot of lolcows out there, and some of them are well known, like Whims of Redemption, Low Tier God, Dark Side Phil, Chris Chan, you know, people like that. But there's a bunch of them that most people don't know about, and covering lolcows in a specific fandom is a pretty neat way to stand out. Because honestly, I don't see too many lolcow channels that cover people in the Sonic fandom, and I thought that was kind of smart. The only other channel I think that does like niche, or even though he kind of branched out a little bit before he stopped making content, was a guy named Danknet, who used to cover a lot of the fitness community on YouTube's lolcows, because yes, there were lolcows in there too, and some of them were pretty out there. But if you see my last stream, you know I used to be a pretty big Sonic fan. I still am a fan, but I'm not super crazy about it anymore. I'm not super into it as I used to be. Hell, I've had Sonic Forces in my damn Steam library for at least 2 years now, and haven't touched it once. I haven't even fucking installed it yet. I say all that to say that channels covering lolcows in a fandom I used to be a part of, to some degree, piqued my interest. In addition to covering weirdos in the Sonic fandom, Dillin was also known for reading the Sonic Shoe comics, Chris Chan's infamously horrible comic series. Holy shit, it was bad. From what I remember, these were like the most popular videos, as he would have people on these to help him read and do voices and, you know, just bounce off and laugh with about it. I'll be honest, most of the time when I watched his videos, they were on the background while I gamed, worked on videos, or did some other stuff, and were mostly just background noise that would occasionally get a chuckle out of me, or if it was some weird lolcow thing that did something particularly heinous, or just, you know, just what the fuck, it held my morbid curiosity and I would pay attention to it. But I think the subject matter that Dillin's content focused on carried those videos more than Dillin as a person, which in a vacuum isn't a bad thing, because some big YouTubers got to where they were because they had interesting topics for their videos, or they covered a particular niche that they got big in, and then that translated to a lot more people paying attention to them. And it wasn't necessarily their personalities. And I noticed, because I kind of watch lolcow channels a bit, I notice they tend to be on a spectrum. On one side you have what I'm going to call the informative channels, and on the opposite end you have the roasters. If I had to put a content creator on the far end of the roaster spectrum, it's Mr. METOKUR. Not to say that he isn't informative, but there's more focus on pointing out the goofy or disgusting shit people do, and laughing and mocking them. Whereas someone on a more informative side would be like Geno Samuels, who's more focused on telling you what this person is, what they've done, and how they earned the reputation they have. And in his very long, feels like a fucking understatement, just massive multi-part documentary on Chris Chan, I don't think Geno intentionally throws insults or jokes into his coverage. He just lets the absurdity of the event speak for themselves and occasionally gives his opinion on them. And he doesn't try to add too many flourishes to them. Dillin falls more towards the METOKUR side of the spectrum, but just not as funny, which is fine. Not everyone can be super funny. I don't think I'm that funny. So you're probably wondering, why am I talking about this guy? Well, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this, the drama. Strap yourselves in. Do you like sci-fi? Do you like superhero teams? Well, you might want to check out my book, Renegades Volume 1 Rise, now available on Amazon, both physical and digital. Set in the far future, humanity accidentally crossed over into another dimension while trying to escape a dying Earth. They arrived at a mirror Earth called Terra, inhabited by sentient humanoid animals called Terrans. Humans and Terrans coexisted for a little while, but they eventually went to war. After 10 years of brutal warfare, they eventually found peace. Our story is set 50 years later. A madman named Ivan and his terror cell called Scythe are searching for a dangerous weapon that will allow them to take over the world. The only people who can stop them are the Renegades, a ragtag group of misfits including a teenage girl trained to be a soldier since she was a child, a teenage delinquent with a hoverboard, 2 super geniuses, a former heavyweight pro boxer with cybernetic augments, and a mysterious blue creature with no memories and the ability to manipulate water and ice. In order to stop Ivan, the Renegades will have to take on giant mechs, evil mega corporations, terrorists, cyborg ninjas, and more in their exciting debut. You can pick up the digital version for 99 cents or the print version for 17 bucks. You can also read the book for free as serials on my Wattpad and Minds accounts. They are updated every other week with a new section. Dillin has been embroiled in a lot of drama over the years, and I am not covering all of it because holy shit, we'd be here forever. But I'm gonna highlight some of the important dramas that I think are relevant. At some point, Mr. METOKUR had a series called Deviants where he poked fun at people on DeviantArt and just some of the weird shit and fetishes people have that you can find on there. Doodletones, another YouTuber, did not like this and made a video against Mr. METOKUR. This vid's been deleted, so I'm not sure how bad it was. I'm assuming it was pretty bad, or it just didn't sit well with people. I know very little about Doodletones, so I'm not even gonna get into that. I know they had a feud with Just a Robot at one point. Dillin was friends with Doodletones and made a video on his own where he challenged a fan of METOKUR or roasted them or whatever. He also called METOKUR a cyberbully. Dillin then took this to Twitter and started going after METOKUR directly and responded to him and his fans. And like tagged METOKUR and stuff, and I'll throw some of this shit on screen. Now, if you don't know, METOKUR is one of the last people you want to be in a fight with. Especially if you take yourself even slightly serious on the internet, because METOKUR is just going to make fun of you and roast you. Actually, I think roast might be putting it lightly. Cremated might be more accurate.
Hey guys, Dylan here.
A few hours later, Dillin changed his tone and started blocking everyone, which predictably caused everyone to laugh at him because he kind of started this shit, and I guess he couldn't take the heat. He then proceeded to go on about this hours later to himself, basically, long after anyone cared. He even revealed that at one point he was going to make a video on METOKUR, which he then canceled, then said he was done with the commentary community, and then apologized to METOKUR. To add more gasoline to the dumpster fire here, he had a falling out with Doodletones around this time, you know, the person he was defending. Dillin seems to have this habit of picking fights with people and then either backing out of the situation, or the situation just backfires and makes him look stupid. Which is something that's going to come up again as we go further in. This one is probably the biggest Dillin drama and the one I have the biggest problem with Dillin with how he handled this. JESSEPAJAMAS was a friend of Dillin's that he would frequently have as a guest on his videos, especially during the comic book reading stuff. So you're probably wondering what's the issue. Well, Jesse has been accused of pedophilic activity. I don't know how valid these are. I don't know enough about them to say that, you know, that he did this shit or not. The problem is Dillin's coverage of it and just the video he made overall, because there are several issues with that video. But the most damning thing Dillin did in this video is he admitted that he knew that Jesse was a creep, possibly for years. And he only came forward after Jesse threatened his channel and threatened to damage his YouTube career. You probably don't need me to say this, but this makes Dillin look god-awful. So, according to you, you knew he was doing, allegedly, doing inappropriate things with minors, including stalking. I think that was one of the charges. He was stalking people, minors online and stuff, allegedly. And you chose not to say anything.
So take anything that Jesse says with a bigger grain of salt. But Jesse has told me that yes, he did fuck around with a second minor, he just didn't know the age. So that's 2 fucking minors that Jesse has fucked with, and he's on Sonic Amino talking to other minors. So that's multiple fucking minors that he's talking to. He's on Sonic Amino. He's a fucking known creep. He's in the Shotokan. He's in the fucking Lolicon. Let's continue talking about Jesse Pajamas. Let's fucking continue talking about this man. Well, not only does he fucking do this shit, not only does he talk to kids on fucking Sonic Amino, he also has a Discord server. Now, I know that as soon as I said Discord server, a fucking chill went up your spine. A fucking cringe went down your back. Because you're wondering, why? Why, dear God, are you bringing up Discord? Well, let me tell you why I'm bringing up Discord. Jesse now has 3 Discords. It used to just be 1 Discord, where he watches porn with minors. I have hopped into calls before where there were minors in the call and he was watching porn with them. Sometimes it's hentai, sometimes it's straight up literal fucking porn, like actual live action porn. And he does this on a fucking weekly, if not daily basis. And now he has a private Discord server exclusively with the intent of sharing porn and watching porn in it. Post from We Wish You a Turtle Christmas. Yo, to any of my followers who are in the Sonic fandom or community, please avoid SonicTuber known as Jesse Pajamas. That dude's a pedo and is basically Sci Guy 2.0. And this post was made in October 25th, 2018. Wow, that's quite a bit ago. That's like right when me and Jesse were first really starting being friends. It's almost like people have made this accusation for a long time now. And this is not something new, and not something I just pulled out of my ass.
The only way I could understand why you wouldn't say anything and could, for lack of a better term, forgive that is you weren't saying anything because you went to the police with evidence and the police told you, hey, keep your mouth shut because, of course, if you go loud, the criminal, alleged criminal, has time to, hide some of the evidence, purge their hard drives, destroy their hard drive, delete their accounts, all that kind of shit. That would make an actual professional investigator's job a lot harder. I understand they told you, hey, don't say anything. Don't indicate that you know about this shit. Keep quiet. I can understand that. Because I think that's the best approach when dealing with these kind of things. Because I think people need to just stop making these accusations online to begin with. And just go to the fucking police. And let the cops handle it. Because 99.999% of YouTubers are not equipped to handle or even report on this stuff properly. Like, if you don't believe me, look at the EDP shit, for example. Fucking what they call predator poachers or some shit. They botched that and let that guy walk because of things like entrapment and shit. It was a fucking mess. I understand if that was the reason why Dillin didn't say anything, or if he didn't say anything because he didn't have any evidence and just had people saying this, but they didn't have enough where he could, say, hey, so-and-so was doing this and here's my proof, and have people believe him. That I could understand if that was his reasoning. The thing is, Dillin doesn't say anything like that. His way to justify being silent on this whole thing was Jesse was so integrated into his channel and it had an overlapping fan base that he was afraid his audience would turn on him. Bruh, if you had proof, I'm pretty sure a large portion of your fan base would have your back. Most rational people would drop their support for Jesse if the evidence was solid, or is solid. Sure, it might not be right. It might be like you're just fucking lying or something, because they haven't had time to let it sink in or look into it for themselves and arrive to their own conclusion. But I'm sure if you gave people time, most of them would agree that, yeah, Jesse's a piece of shit. Allegedly. This just kind of shows you only cared about your YouTube career. And there was a point where Jesse got called out for pedo shit earlier, along with some other stuff like transphobia, which, okay, I'm gonna focus more on the pedo shit, honestly. But the fact that you defended this dude during that, presumably when you knew that he was doing this shit and that this wasn't actually an attempt to cancel him over some bullshit and you try to downplay what happened, is disgusting. I get that Jesse is your friend, even though you're claiming your video, you're quote-unquote exposing him for this stuff, that he was never your friend. I don't believe that, because why would you defend somebody for something so heinous like that if they weren't, you weren't friends with them or close to them? I couldn't defend someone accused of that, even if they were my friend, unless I know for a fact the person making the accusation doesn't have any evidence, or the person is clearly lying or something. That's different. If you want my honest opinion, I think he defended Jesse back then because their channels were so intertwined, because they were. If Jesse went down for this shit, Dillin's channel would have most likely taken some kind of hit. I don't like to pull the morality card out of the deck, but this is some immoral shit right here. So I guess what you're saying is your Sonic Chew comic reading videos and all that shit are more important than the safety of children, allegedly? Okay, so after recording the initial audio for this, it kind of dawned on me fully just how messed up, not even messed up, how fucked up this whole Jesse Pajama, Dillin keeping silent thing, running defense for him thing is. Especially when you factor in the fact that the Sonic community is most likely made up of minors. And you had this guy on your channel, even after knowing that he was probably a creep. Depending on how you want to look at that, you could argue that Dillin was potentially putting more children in harm's way by having Jesse on his video and stuff, because that probably helped Jesse's audience grow as much as it helped Dillin's audience grow, let's be real. Which would mean that potentially Jesse would have more access to children to prey upon, which, I'm sorry, that's just fucked up. I don't have a better way to describe it. As you can imagine, when this came out and people thought about it and realized what Dillin was saying, this turned a lot of people against him. A lot of people started calling him out, and I think this contributed to his downfall. But let's move on to the next piece of drama. Dillin has had a bunch of podcasts throughout the years. A lot of them end up not lasting. He used to do a podcast on another channel that covers lolcow stuff called Rogue Internet Man. I didn't watch this podcast they did. I only watched the re-uploads on Dillin's channel, but these were covering these were covering Chris Chan stuff. From watching the archives of it, my biggest issue with the podcast was Dillin and Rogue didn't really play off each other well. And sometimes Rogue would try to make a joke or say something funny, and rather than Dillin bouncing off of that, he would just go back to the topic at hand. And it wasn't done in like a funny way where, you know, like comedy, they have the straight man and the silly one, and they bounce off each other. The straight man would try to keep the silly one in check or highlight how stupid the sillier character's being. It wasn't like that. And to me, it just wasn't very interesting. And keep in mind, I'm no expert on podcasts, although I've been on several now. But for me, the main draw of a podcast, besides the subject, is everyone's dynamic, especially if you got multiple people on the podcast, is the dynamic and watching people play off each other, or more so listening to people play off each other, and bouncing topics and jokes off one another. That's the appeal of it. That's the draw of it. This podcast, in my opinion, didn't have that. And I'm not saying that it's really anybody's fault, per se, but this podcast didn't last that long anyway, because, unfortunately, Rogue got sick. Very sick. I think he said at one point he coughed up blood. I'm no doctor, but that's not a good sign. That's not something you want to mess around with. Understandably, when you are that sick, you probably aren't in the state of mind to make a podcast. Apparently, Dillin didn't get this and started talking shit and pushing Rogue and bitching about it, which got Rogue mad, understandably. the two just were no longer friends anymore. And this came to a head when Dillin really started talking shit about Rogue and demanding the two of them, debate, basically doing the debate me bro shit. Like with the METOKUR situation, this didn't go over well, and Rogue roasted the hell out of Dillin.
You can't just sit there with your thumb up your ass. If you were a boss, if you were a boss and your employee doesn't come to work, would you just fucking sit there looking at the door waiting for him to show up? Or are you gonna go ahead and get the other people going on their job and then you do your thing and make money? Because
I'll tell you what I did. I ended the show because you quit showing up.
Yeah, you ended the show, and I was more than willing to come back and do things, but you ended it because I was sick and taking care of life shit. Because Dillin, you're not important enough for me to value what you're doing at all fucking times. I mean, come on, you're just a guy on the internet.
That's fine, but if you don't have the time for it, why would I continue to try to stress you out and make you do something you don't want to do?
It wasn't stress to me because I didn't care. So
you were commenting on the videos telling people that you didn't like the show. You did it multiple times, Rogue. How am I going to get you
so
to
fucking what?
Doing...
So fucking what? I agreed to do it.
How am I supposed to continue to get you to do the show when you don't
Because
like
I fucking agreed to do it. Are you that fucking stupid? I agreed to do it with you.
Can you not insult me, Rogue?
Are you gonna cry? Come on. Just talk like a fucking adult. You're fucking lying.
I am talking like an adult. I'm not lying.
You've got 1,400 people watching you, so
I'm not afraid of you, Rogue. I'm not afraid of you.
That's why your voice is shaky. I'm talking to you right now, and then when I bring up counterpoints, you try to talk over me. Rogue. Because you talked this big game on Twitter, wanting to do a debate, and then when I even brought this stupid shit up, I said, hey, why do you want to have a debate if we're gonna do this shit? Why don't we have moderation? You coward. And then when we don't have moderation, and I'm speaking freely, that's a problem. You don't understand that my life takes more precedence to me than your life does to me. That's why I didn't bother messaging you, because here's the thing: when I'm coughing up blood and trying to take care of my family, and trying to move, and trying to get some things in order for my own personal shit, some money shit, I'm more focused on my man and fucking block me if I'm that such a bad guy. You brought it up. You brought it up.
Debate you.
Whose idea was all this shit?
I said I wanted to talk to you, Rogue.
And you brought up doing it live. I didn't want to fucking talk to you, period.
To me privately.
Because I'm not obligated to you. You're not my fucking girlfriend, and I'm not your girlfriend because you don't have one fucking period, man. I don't owe you anything.
I chose to end my relationship, Rogue. I chose to move back down here with my money.
That's fantastic. What little money you fucking got with them, Dillin.
If you had a problem with me, you could have just told me.
You would have fucking cried and made an ordeal out of it. It's fucking funnier that way.
You were bragging about your money before I asked anything.
Yeah, because everything I do is better than you.
Okay, you can hold that opinion.
Oh shit, thank you for the drink.
You're welcome. Dinner will be ready soon too.
Sounds good, thank you.
Bye.
Hello.
Take the dog.
Come on, let's go.
Don't you miss that, Dillin?
Nope.
You don't miss it?
I chose my relationship.
I'm sure you did.
I want to be on my own, Rogue.
I'm sure you did. That's why you cried.
I didn't cry about Taylor once. I moved to Oklahoma because I wanted to. I put my money into moving back here.
So you made a bad decision and cried.
Why is it so hard for you to believe that I wanted something else out of my life?
You see why we should have had a moderator, Dillin? What a fucking joke.
I feel like that this is going nowhere, Rogue.
You're right, it is absolutely going nowhere. It's got something in common with your channel. I'm glad you can laugh about that. Cry about it on stream afterwards.
No, I'm not going to cry about it, Rogue.
Like I gotta ask you though, what's that Grindr account? Why do you have an active Grindr account?
Well, I can tell you that. I exposed a pedophile, and they thought it was funny to sign my email up for a bunch of shit.
You know, for an active account, it has to be authorized by an email that's sent to verify, right?
It's not authorized.
It is.
No, it isn't. It's not authorized.
It's authorized.
You
have a Grindr account, Dillin.
It says the email.
Top or bottom?
It's not activated, and you know that, Rose.
Sure it isn't.
You resort
sure it isn't.
Because you're trying to make some type of joke out of this.
Sure it isn't.
Side note for a second here, because I didn't mention this earlier. Dillin had a girlfriend named Taylor that used to do art for him, and you know what? Her art is actually really good. I think it looks really nice. I like her style. They used to do, I think they had 1 or 2 Sonic fan comics. They look really nice in terms of art. I never read the comics myself, so I can't speak on how well the writing is. But Dillin and Taylor broke up because he wanted to move back to his home state and did not want to live in California. Which, I mean, I understand that. Especially with the rent in California, holy shit. Yeah, I wouldn't want to live there either. Nah. I've seen some of the shit people pay for rent in apartments that aren't even like that spacious or whatever. It's ridiculous. So I get that. Taylor and him didn't want to do a long distance relationship, which is understandable. And Rogue references this when roasting Dillin. You can clearly tell it got under Dillin's skin because, yeah. Dillin did some damage control up to this. Well, he tried to. I don't think it went over very well, and it kind of just made him look really stupid. But let's get to the biggest source of drama and the most recent thing. The rebrand. Now, like I said, Dillin covered a lot of Chris Chan stuff, Sonic Shoe stuff, weirdos in the Sonic fandom, that kind of stuff. And he continued to do that right around the time Chris got arrested for sexually assaulting his own mom, who I believe is suffering from dementia. Just to add even more, I don't even have a word for that. Yeah, and Chris Chan was manipulated and encouraged in doing this by a group of really fucked up individuals. But I'm not gonna get into that because this ain't really about that. But this disgusting act landed Chris Chan in jail. He got arrested. And this is seemingly the end of Chris Chan's story. This, of course, spelled the end for a lot of channels that covered Chris Chan, especially if that was the only thing they focused on. And I think the whole motherfucker thing soured the entire topic for a lot of people. Because even I stopped watching Chris Chan related stuff after the dust settled around this. Where do you go from there, honestly? I mean, yeah, you could cover his batshit letters from jail where it just shows how deranged and delusional he is, thinking he's, God and stuff, but there's only also many times you can highlight how crazy he is before it inevitably becomes stale. The Chris Chan well was drying up. This became a problem for Dillin and I imagine a lot of other channels that mostly focus on Chris Chan. And I think this is one of the downsides of doing lolcow stuff on one particular person is eventually you milk the udder dry. Or there's just a dry period where the person in question isn't doing anything new for you to cover. So you end up not really being able to make content or scraping the bottom of the barrel to do it. Now, Dillin initially tried to remedy this by branching out to non-Sonic related weirdos on the internet. He started covering people like Wings of Redemption, DSP, and Linkara from atop the fourth wall. While these are more well-known lolcows, I think this was actually a smart move. People have been telling him to consider branching out for a while, and he did. The problem is he wasn't getting the views he got when he did the Sonic Insanity stuff or when covering Chris Chan and Sonic Shoe, which is a big issue for somebody in Dillin's position because YouTube was his income. That was his bread and butter. That was his day job. Less views means less cash, which means you're gonna have a hard time paying them bills. And when you couple that with, the stress of losing, breaking up with your girlfriend who you're with for 3+ years and not having her help you with content or help you financially, because I assume Taylor was also helping with the bills, Dillin kind of snapped. He had a live stream where he apparently blew up at his fan base for not supporting the videos. The new stuff, the non-Chris Chan, the non-Sonic Shoe, the non-Sonic related stuff. I wasn't in this stream, I didn't see it firsthand, and it's been deleted. But I do have some of his deleted comments, which, side note going forward, because a lot of this shit has already been deleted, I had to grab this from other videos that already talked about this stuff. So I'll link to some channels that I got a lot of these screenshots from because I don't have them. I can't go to his channel and just grab them at this point. So please bear with me here.
Sorry I've been so manic lately. I would try to calm down and just get back to making Chris videos. I have got the feedback I needed. People have bitched at me for months to stop being the CWC dead horse and to cover other lolcows. I listened to feedback, and so I did just that. But the views on the new stuff aren't that good, and now people have been telling me to cover more Chris Chan. So I uploaded today's video to gauge if people really wanted me to stop covering Chris. And from what I saw, all the comments said that they wanted more Chris Chan content. I will still cover new lolcows. But my viewers made their voices heard today and proved that the people that want me to stop covering Chris are a vocal minority of people who don't like or watch my content and whose opinions shouldn't be taken seriously. I am going back to weekly Christian content. I am sorry for today's video, but I need to know where everyone stood. Hopefully I will see you in the next comment section. I am sorry for how I acted last night. I have been under a lot of stress recently, and it all just kicked in. I took the rest of the night to calm down and think things over, and I realized I was in the wrong. There was no good reason to act the way I did, or say the things that I said. I sincerely apologize for publicly lashing out like that, and I will do me best going forward to keep that shit where it belongs, that being in private.
Now, I think that apology was fair. I understand, when you stressed out, you're gonna say some shit you probably gonna regret. Especially if you got, I don't know, like an anxiety problem or stuff like that. I understand that you're having a really bad day, then you get on stream. Probably not a good idea to stream while you're in that state, but, hindsight being 2020, you might not have realized how bad you were and something set you off. I get it. But going back to the lack of engagement on when he branched out, the thing that I don't think Dillin realized is he built his entire channel primarily on the Chris Chan stuff, and on the Sonic, and Chris Chan is tied to Sonic because of Sonic Chew, and so the Sonic and Sandy stuff you can argue is tangentially linked because it's both lolcow and Sonic related. So chances are a large portion of his audience that came in for the Chris Chan stuff would also stick around to check out this stuff. It makes sense that those videos would do really well. And of course, a lot of people did watch them, or at least a reasonable amount of people watched them. And people who tune in his channel watch those kind of videos. So I think it's only logical to assume that people might not tune in as much to the non-Chris Chan stuff. Especially since, like I said, he hadn't been doing that for years. But had he stuck with those kind of videos, they might have done better over time. And I think mixing it up would have been the best way to go, since the Chris well was drying up and diversifying is just a smart move in general. But he didn't stick with it because of the initial lower views. And around this time, Dillin was dealing with the drama from the Rogue fiasco too. And he started getting criticism from others, along with the JESSEPAJAMAS fiasco, so he was getting... People were roasting him for it and calling him out for his bullshit. He decided to then rebrand his entire channel. He went from Dillin Thomas to Comics Code, where he would talk about comic book stuff. And he started privating his popular videos, which, if you don't know this, and I didn't know this until I started watching some other videos talking about other people who've done this, YouTube will count those views as a loss, and you'll be deranked in the algorithm. Which means your new shit might not perform as well as it should, based on your channel size. Dillin's reasons for doing this because he wanted to get away from drama, he wanted to be more positive, and he didn't like how a lot of his channel was about negativity and basically tearing people down and ripping into people and stuff. He didn't want to be that guy anymore. This is pretty much, I'm just gonna be honest, this was some straight up horse shit. Because after the change, he made videos roasting Linkara's infamously bad webcomic, The Lightbringer. He would insult Linkara regularly throughout, and I'll admit, it was fucking funny. Like, I'll be honest, most people I think are drawn to more, I don't know. I think a lot of people are drawn to more negative content than they are positive content. Like, for instance, if I see a review for a game where I can already tell by thumbnail that the person is just gonna, roast this game, I'm more inclined to watching than someone praising a game. Sometimes. Maybe that's just me. I'm probably not the only one that's like that. So I don't have a problem with him doing this. It's just that when you're gonna claim that you're trying to be more positive, and then you're still roasting people and insulting people and stuff, it just seems there's a dissonance here. And like I said, I actually like the Lightbringer reviews, and I think they did pretty alright in terms of views also. Again, I mostly watch this stuff in the back as background noise when doing other things. The thing that bothered me the most with this was he would constantly talk up his own comic book, The Cyclone, which honestly is it's okay, it's not the worst comic book I've ever read, but it's not great. It's bad, and I'm not gonna get into it because this video is gonna be long enough as it is. But it's just really weird to see him compare himself to Linkara's comic when his comic isn't that good to begin with. There were several things wrong with this rebrand. One of them being covering comic books themselves. And that might seem weird, but hear me out for a second. Comic books are kind of niche. And this is something that I've heard from a lot of my friends on Discord that either work on their own comics or want to, or have worked on comics in the past. It's a niche hobby, which from an outside looking in, you might think that's a little bit weird because you see stuff like the MCU and the DCEU and all that stuff. You're thinking, oh, these movies sell like hotcakes. Therefore, comic books should be doing well too, right? and should be super duper popular. Not the case. But that's a whole other can of worms. And I say all that to say that if you're going to rebrand to doing comic book stuff and you expect instant success and pulling in numbers like you did with your drama and lolcow content, you're going to be in for disappointment. It also didn't help that the comic topics that he would choose to cover just weren't that interesting. They were just really fucking boring. I remember he did one about the damn Justice League Subway crossover where they had Jared Fogle meet the Justice League before Jared Fogle was exposed to be an absolute fucking monster. And I'm probably making this video sound more interesting than it actually was, because I think I watched about 2 minutes of it and was just bored. Because the whole thing was around the fact that Jared Fogle later was outed as pedo, which, I mean, you worked with a guy who is accused of being a pedo. And he also would do other videos like trying to fix a Marvel character that for some reason Marvel really wants to shove down people's throats, but no one really seems to give a shit about. Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel. The biggest problem with Dillin's rebrand is I don't think he realized why he had an audience to begin with. See, there are some content creators that people watch not necessarily because of their video subject or even their presentation, but their personality. People like Count Dankula and Charlie/Penguin Zero come to mind. Those two are entertaining no matter what they're talking about. Count Dankula actually, when I subbed him, it was back when he used to do anti-SAW stuff. Like, he used to do all that stuff, you know, like Sargon and Chris Reagan, all that kind of stuff, right? But he branched out and phased that out, and now he has a new series called Absolute Mad Lads, which is a really fun series as he talks about bizarre people in history, in some cases present day. And it's very informative, but it's also very funny because Count Dankula is just an entertaining guy. And there are other content creators that I watch more so for their presentation or their knowledge on a subject rather than their personality. Sid Alpha is a prime example of this. I watch him for his Dirty Dev series where he covers unethical practices with, you know, developers and game industry stuff. Mostly indie devs, but occasionally he'll cover AAA stuff too. Sid's legal knowledge and the information he presents is what draws me to his videos, not necessarily Sid's personality. I'm not saying his personality is bad or anything, it's just not the major draw. When his personality does come out more, it's honestly quite refreshing and kind of funny. Dillin falls into a similar camp as Sid Alpha, although I think Sid Alpha is a way better content creator. The topics Dillin used to cover were more interesting than he was and could carry the videos rather than, you know, it being carried by his editing or his personality or his presentation or whatever. And I'm not saying this to be an asshole, it's just how some people are. Some people are just more entertaining than others on this site. People sub to him because of the niche lolcow stuff he used to do. I say niche even though Christianity's not that niche. But, you know, like the Sonic Insanity stuff, that kind of stuff. People sub to him for that, not for comic book stuff. And since his personality isn't the draw, people tuned out and he lost subs because of that. He also started trying to pivot away from his more edgier stuff because he used to do a lot more edgy stuff. You know, he can't. That's part of the reason why I like this content, because he just would say what he thought, didn't really give a shit. And he seemed down to earth, but he wanted to divorce himself from that because he wanted to divorce himself from controversy because he was embroiled in it and he wanted to get the fuck out of there. And he wanted to put this, you know, new positive image. I've matured, I've changed, blah, blah, blah. And he made this really just cringe as hell apology video. And he said he was going to go and do like a week of these where he apologized to every community he offended, which is some bitch shit right here. Like, I ain't gonna sugarcoat. Here's some bitch shit right here. What the fuck is this? But he made a video later on talking about why he rebranded his channel. He started lying about why he doesn't want to cover the Sonic 2 comics anymore despite covering the Linkara stuff. That nicely segues into my next problem. Dillin, for some fucking reason, thought it would be a wise decision to say that he would only cover Sonic 2 comics again if people paid him $100 a month on Patreon. Yeah, I'm not kidding. He thought that he could charge $100 per month to review Sonic 2 again. I should mention that when he used to do this, he never finished reviewing them. I forgot what issue he got to and then stopped, but he didn't get through all of them. This is my personal opinion, and I think some people are probably gonna agree with me on this. The previous time he reviewed these, it wasn't the most high effort thing. It was just he and his friends reading it with funny voices while the panels or the page was on screen, and they would just, you know, laugh and talk about how bad it was, which is fine. But I've seen people read bad comics with a lot more effort. Look up Jay Longbone's videos on Gotham High.
boy, I gotta do my sexy voice for this garbage. Welcome to Gotham City's Arkham Preparatory School for Boys. One of the most famous and prestigious private schools in the country.
Yeah.
More future presidents, senators, tycoons, and CEOs have passed through these halls than anyone can count. It prides itself on its school motto, Vita et Fortitudo, life and courage. And it must be noted.
Oh my god.
Oh, no.
Is that Luke here?
No. You're gonna...
They've drawn things on his face.
It's anything, it's just not even like scary. It looks like every other mumble rapper's music video design.
Page 2 is already cyberbullying. I just want to kill myself now.
While there are only 25 useful Latin verbs and only 4 ways to conjugate them, this is so dumb.
Choose Origin, Episode 1.
Our story begins in an open field, 5 miles from the city of Station Square, which is under siege by the perfect chaos monster. Well, Sonic the Hedgehog...
Perfect chaos monster. Just say perfect.
Yeah, it's like
chaos.
the Batman.
The Batman.
While Sonic the Hedgehog ponders over the destruction, a wild boy Pikachu takes notice of the far-off destruction.
A girlfriend-free boy. Pika!
I am Kristen Weston Chandler, Sonichu's creator and author of this comic. This is his story and nothing less.
Meanwhile...
All Sonichu material is copyrighted March 2000 to 2005 by Kristen Weston Chandler. That's how long it took him to write this.
I didn't think we'd actually read that.
You know what?
Meanwhile...
You know what? I'm actually gonna give Chris some credit here, because unlike Sonic Legacy, he has panels that don't need dialogue explaining what we're seeing.
Enjoy this, because it's only in issue 1.
There's so much editing in that you could tell it took some time to do this. So, as for money, based on what the original Sonichu reviews were, and his editing style now just didn't seem reasonable to me, compared to, say, like Jay Longbone's style. Like, if she said, hey, I need money to do these videos, maybe not $100, but at least I can understand having that behind a paywall. Or, you know, saying, hey, if I make X amount per month on Patreon, I'll do more of these. Because I understand that took a lot of time to do. He had another tier on Patreon where, for the low price, and this is an absolute steal, by the way, of $50 a month, he'd bring back his old fanfic readings. I don't know why you'd pay $50 a month for that, but you know what? To each their own. When he got backlash for these by other people, I think Rogue even called this out, he canceled these. But I wish I could say that was the funniest thing he tried to do on his Patreon, but it's not. The funniest thing, in my opinion, was he thought it'd be a good idea to sell himself to people as an editor. Look, I don't think I'm that great of an editor. A lot of them are complicated videos I make have mistakes in them, and I end up not catching them when rewatching the videos of my editor before I hit render or before I upload them. Now, I think I can do some neat, some decent stuff, but a lot of it's just me looking at tutorials on YouTube and following along and maybe doing something slightly different to fit what I'm trying to go for in a video. Most of the transitions I have in videos are just presets that are built into my editing program. I say all that to say that I don't know if I'd feel all that comfortable charging people for my editing services. I don't think I'm at that level where I could confidently say, yeah, you could pay me. Like, I'd edit a video for you for like $100. I don't know how much I'd charge for that. You get my point, right? Dillin, from what I've seen, doesn't really edit all that much. Like, if I wanted, let's say I was interested in hiring someone to edit videos for me, and for some reason I thought, oh yeah, Dillin Thomas, yeah, I'll let him edit my videos. And I looked at his videos, I would be like, why the fuck would I pay you to edit my videos? Because he doesn't do all that much editing. I mean, he'll do basic stuff like slap some kind of moving background, throw up a screenshot or display capture up with what he's talking about, responding to, has some kind of relevant looping background like Chris Chan jumping up and down with like a purple filter over it, shit like that, which is fine, in a vacuum. If you're just making videos for yourself, that's perfectly fine. Good editing takes a while, and it isn't always necessary, since a lot of people are, especially if you're doing commentary, a lot of people are just listening. They're not necessarily watching the screen the entire time. It's nice to have good editing, but don't beat yourself up for it if you can't edit super well. I know some people shit on people who just have like random COD gameplay in the background with screenshots that fade in. when needed and stuff like that. I know some people shit on people for doing that. I'm fine with that. I can live with that. As long as, the commentary is good, topic interesting, you're either funny or you're got the information correct, you did your research, that's fine. But going back to Dillin charging people for editing, it would be one thing if Dillin's editing skills were on the same level as the editors that people like Jay Aubrey or The Right Opinion hire to do their videos. That would be one thing. Or if he had the editing skills of somebody like John Swan, for example. But this just comes off as desperate since he doesn't have a regular day job and relies on YouTube as a sole income. And unfortunately, his desperation gets even worse. Sadly, since Dillin deleted a lot of his community posts, I can't get screenshots of this. But allegedly, he was e-begging for people to give him money to pay for bills. And at one point, pay for gas because he didn't have gas money to get where he needed to go. This is getting to some DSP levels of e-begging right here. Holy shit.
I need that money. I really do. I need that money to pay my bills, the electric bill, the internet bill.
He also did donation streams. I don't mean reading backlogs of donations and super chats from previous streams, like a lot of VTubers do because they got a lot of people that support them and people give them super chats on the regular. I'm not talking about that. I mean the whole point of the stream is for people to give him money. Like the whole point of the stream was, please give me money. I am desperate. I need money for my electric bill, the phone bill, the internet bill. I need that money. I really do. I need that money. Bruh. Hilariously enough, Dillin had a tier on his Patreon called Help Me Pay the Rent and Other Bills, which had a goal of $800 per month because,
I need that money. I really do. I need that money. For my bills, the electric bill, the internet bill.
Dillin needs to get a fucking job. I don't know if I've ever said this before online, but I would strongly advise against people making YouTube their day job, their primary source of income. Especially if you make edgy content. Yeah, good luck with keeping your monetization because you know how Chancellor Susan is. You say the wrong thing, boom, there goes your monetization, boom, there goes your channel. Because your channel can be yeeted at any fucking moment. To be fair, any YouTuber is in that position, honestly. But if you do more edgy content, you're really asking for it. Hell, people get penalized for videos they uploaded like years ago that didn't violate community guidelines back then, but violate them now. So this is a really volatile thing. And even if it does work out, let's say you do hit it big on YouTube and you can live off it. Okay, what happens when the views start running out and you're not making as much money anymore? What happens then? People who do this, like Dillin, really shoot themselves in the foot because if they've been living on YouTube for multiple years, then they likely have a huge gap in their employment history. And any person doing job interviews are going to ask you about that. And I'm not sure most people are going to be okay with saying, hey, I did YouTube videos. Because naturally, people are going to ask, what kind of YouTube videos did you make? The other thing that Dillin specifically does is he used his real name. Like Dillin Thomas, I'm pretty sure it's his real name. I bet if any like recruiter or job, HR person were to just type his name into Google, they'd probably find his YouTube channel. And the thing is, he couldn't even do a thing where, yeah, that's not me because his face is on his YouTube channel. Like, he's done face reveals and stuff. We know what he looks like. On top of that, let's face it, you've said some controversial shit. Let's be real. That's something that's probably going to bite you in the ass when someone is considering hiring you for a job. Especially if it's like a reasonably, a reasonable level job where the pay is decent. Not some low level, like not to disrespect people who have these jobs, but not some like lower tier job, like, I don't know, like a fast food worker or retail or something. They might not care as much. There's also, and I don't know if this is true, there's this rumor that Dillin never actually graduated high school and never got his GED either. Which, if that's true, that's really not good. I'm not saying you need to go to college and, rack up thousands of dollars of student loan debt because trade schools are a thing and are a viable option. But this may explain his desperation is e-begging if this is legit. Because without a GED or a high school diploma, he's gonna have a hard time getting a job. The adult thing to do would be to find work. I know that's probably gonna be hard, especially if the no GED and no high school diploma thing is true. And maybe do YouTube as a side gig. That's what I think a reasonable, like an adult would do. Honestly, that's what I would advocate for if anybody watching this is considering becoming a YouTuber. If you ever make it big, don't quit your day job. Just keep doing your day job and make YouTube videos as a side hustle. Dillin didn't do this, and I got a feeling he's feeling the consequences of this. But sadly, the Dillin train does not stop here. So naturally, Dillin's slow downward spiral kept going. people became more critical of him. His whole rebrand and denouncing his edgy past didn't sit well with a lot of people. Because honestly, it doesn't really seem like he changed at all. A channel that was making fun of Dillin and taking some of the stupid shit he said and making like meme clips out of them, highlighted some instances of him saying the N-word. And yeah, Dillin really did not like this video for obvious reasons, being not black. I think he's Native American or something. But the point is, he's not black and he's saying the N-word with the hard R specifically. Look, I don't give a goddamn that he used the N-word, hard R, or soft A. And if anybody watching this is gonna get mad at me saying that I don't give a shit and doesn't know, I'm black. So I really don't give a shit if you say it. But Dillin, rather than just ignoring it or saying, yes, I said the N-word in the past, yes, I regret it, I shouldn't have said it, like most people probably would do if they regret doing something like that. No, Dillin decided to copyright strike the clip. At first, because I was watching this in real time when this story, people pointed this out and realized this is what happened, I wanted to wait and see if this was really him, because let's be honest, it's really easy to file a false copyright claim on YouTube, because DSP, Darkside Phil, had this happen to him at one point, where someone claimed to be working for Ubisoft and they demanded Phil's videos get taken down because it violated their copyright and their intellectual property. So I wanted to be as charitable as possible and wait for more proof that it was him, because I could easily see a troll doing this, try to, frame Dillin. But Dillin admitted to it in a deleted post that he did do it. I'll have a screenshot of part of it because again, it's deleted, but there's a short by a YouTuber called SoulEmeralds18 that read this and showed it and covered it in a little bit more detail. I'll link that in the description and in the pinned comments so you guys can check that out. But the channel that posted the clip of him dropping the N-word was a channel named Dillin Thomas. And Dillin used a typical lolcow defense of fair use, but we all know the real reason is this clip made him look bad. He's trying to put up this facade of being positive and non-toxic, even though he didn't change really. And I guess he just wants to avoid controversy and people harping on him about it. But as the drama and the controversy just kept piling up, Dillin started banning criticism in his community posts. Like if you were critical of his community posts, you would get banned from posting there. And I hear he did do this in his Discord too, and some of his mods have come out lately talking about this. But then things got really weird. He rebranded again, this time calling himself Frosty DT. 2 rebrands in a short amount of time, my dude? I'm no marketing genius. If I was, Renegades Volume 1 would be sounding like fucking hotcakes right now. But I can't imagine this double rebrand thing in a short amount of time being a good idea. Especially when, in the grand scheme of things, Dillin wasn't exactly that well known as a content creator. I don't think. So that's probably not the smartest move. You'd be shocked, absolutely shocked, flabbergasted to find out that this new name didn't last very long. Now you're probably wondering, why Frosty DT? Because Comics Code, okay, that makes sense since you're doing comic book related stuff, right? That kind of makes sense, and that was a thing. There was the Comics Code during the Silver Age where comics couldn't depict certain things because the rules back then. Which is why Silver Age comics get really fucking weird sometimes and out there, because they had to work within those limitations that they had. So being a comics related channel and going with that title actually makes sense. It's actually kind of clever. But the Frosty DT thing was just, I don't get it. And the reason why he did this is because it was because of his hot takes. I guess it's kind of like a joke about that. I don't really get it. And someone pointed out in a comments about video by another channel called The Martial Nerd, which is a pretty good channel. He's been doing a lot of Dillin stuff lately, which is where I'm getting a lot of his information too. So shout out to him. Check out his videos. I'll link his channel in the description too. But the comment in particular, I want to shout at that because it's hilarious.
Frosty DT, for his hot takes. Cyclone doesn't have wind powers. What?
Yeah, that's something that I don't get about his comic book, The Cyclone. The main character, that's his superhero name, is the Cyclone. He doesn't have wind powers. It's not even like wind related at all, as far as I can tell. A little bit I have read so far, so that doesn't make any sense. But a few days after this rebrand, the Frosty DT rebrand, Dillin decided to nuke his entire channel and then called himself Retired Account and blacked out his profile picture and his banner on YouTube.
I say we take off and nuke the entire site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
But wait, did you think it stopped there? Nah, son. He rebranded the channel again. I'm not fucking with you. He did it again, this time to Dillin Thomas DHT Archive. And this time he unprivated either all of his videos or most of them. What is this, like the 4th fucking name change in this entire video? In a short amount of time, too? I'm guessing he did this to try and cash in on, you know, some of his older videos since he's bleeding subs and people aren't cool with him anymore. He has one community post left up that he put up that explains the situation.
This is the last post I am making online. Oh, and it says this is the last post am I making online. God fucking damn it, Dillin. Proofread. For years, I spent my time making money off of blocking people. I always justified it by saying to myself that it's okay to harass bad people. I used this justification for years and built myself up a decent following, being a terrible person. Last year, I not only found out that Chris fucked his mom, but that the trolls who talked him into it were fans of mine. This made me start to question what I've been doing with my life. I stated, again, grammar, to look inward and try to fix what was wrong with my life. I didn't like being in California, so I left and went back home. I didn't like the way my relationship was going, because of talking things out, me and Taylor split after 3 long years of being together. I reflected more on the mistakes I had made and tried to right them. I knew JESSEPAJAMAS did fucked up things and chose to stay quiet so that my friends and fans wouldn't turn on me. This was wrong. I spoke with the victims and did all I could to bring their stories to light. I thought more about how many times I let things slip, how many times I ignored something because a friend asked me to, and this made me realize that I didn't deserve to expose people anymore. I thought I could hang up my old content and move on. But ironically, the audience I had made decided that I was now a bad person, that I deserved to be harassed. The harassment carried on for 4 months, non-stop. I had people sign me up for gay websites that act like I had the accounts myself. I had people try to hack my PayPal, try to dox my mom, dox me, and so much more. I tried to explain why they were mistaken. That caused more drama. I tried to do videos opening up for my mistakes. That caused more drama. And lastly, I tried to block everything out and ignore everyone. A fan of mine then took things to their hands and flagged down a troll account made to mock me. It's at this point that I see things as the way they are. There is no fixing things, and there is no moving on from my past, even if I try to right my wrongs. I've decided that I've lost too much, and that the internet is not worth the trouble. I am moving on from YouTube, Discord, and all things that are connected with it. I am getting a real job and leaving the internet for good. Don't fight for me, don't defend me, just move on. If there is a lesson to be learned, it's don't live with the mindset of being able to do wrong things for the right reasons. If you play dumb games, you will win dumb prizes, and I think that after everything I've done, I deserve the past 4 months of harassment.
Whew, there is a lot going on here. First of all, the fact that the people that got Chris to fuck his mom were his fans, or claim to be fans of his, I get that would mess you up and make you question what you're doing. But you're not responsible for what your fans do unless you directly told them to do it. And your audience turned on you because of the poor decisions you made, like running defense for Jesse when you were on good terms with him, or flagging Shillin Dumbass for highlighting the fact that you said the N-word with the hard R, or you know how you were being stupid with Rogue and stuff. Those are the things that people turned on you about because you were in the wrong. Now, this goes without saying, I don't think I need to say this, but I'll say it anyway. Trying to dox him or his mom or hack into his PayPal, that kind of shit, is fucking wrong. I'm all for clowning Dillin and highlighting the bullshit he's done and some of the stupid shit he's said and done. I'm all for that, but let's not go too far and drag his family into this or try to ruin his personal life, okay? I noticed in this farewell letter, I guess I'm gonna call it, he does the thing a lot of people do when they get criticized. They always label it as harassment. And while I'm sure he did get some harassment, I'm not gonna say that he didn't. I doubt that that was the vast majority of people being critical of him, of what he's done and what he's been doing. Most of the people, I think, were just laughing and highlighting his poor decisions. And this whole thing just really, to me, demonstrates his inflated ego. Dude, you were a commentator on the internet laughing at other retards on the internet. Get over yourself. You're taking yourself way too fucking serious. Now, he says he will get a day job, and despite all the criticism I have for Dillin, I genuinely hope he does get a day job and is able to live off that instead of e-begging. And maybe stepping away from the internet is the best thing he could do at this point. But I've talked long enough. Let's wrap this shit up. Do I think Dillin is really going to leave the internet for good? My gut is telling me no. And not to toot my own horn here, but my gut is right more often than it's wrong. So if he comes back in a few weeks or a couple months, I will not be surprised. I was gonna talk about his webcomic, but this vid is so long, so I might just make that a separate video, honestly. Let me know if you want me to do that. Let me know in the comments or something. Also, if you did make it through this long ass video, goddamn, you are the real MVP. I felt like doing something a little bit different, and it was just wild catching all of this unfold in real time while I was on vacation, because normally when this shit happens, I usually don't find out about it until months after it's gone down. I don't know if I'll do more vids in this style covering people like this in the future. Let me know if you guys would like that, because this was pretty fun.